How do you balance those roles as a manager, as an owner, and at the same time a father?
Right. I think, the traditional family businesses, the owners or founders, the expectation is, of course, someone in the family will succeed. However, nowadays, my thinking is a little bit changed because I think business life cycle is getting shorter and shorter.
Oh.
And so, whatever skill sets one has, or one is actually able to pass on to the next generation as a parent, may or may not be applicable. So, so now I think it's much more important to teach next generation the value, your value system itself. And, I always have the concept I call the 3 Ps. One is wealth preservation, second is harmony preservation, and a third is what I call legacy preservation. And so I think it's the value and harmony preservation is very, very important. Of course, wealth is important to pass on to the next generation because you always hope that they have a better life than what you have. Most of us had to struggle through where we got to. But on the other hand, we don't really want to spoil them. And also, I think having the value and the financial ability, I think it helps to develop their own passion, which is much more important. And their passion may or may not align with the family business itself. So this is my personal thinking is that, let them develop their own passion. And if it happens to be in a business and your business is ready to transform, that's fine. If not, one can exit from the business and let them start their own activities.
So it doesn't mean that the family business has failed when family members don't want to own or work there.
No, I don't think so, because I developed this concept which I am a true believer in, what I call from family business to a business family. And the idea is that, most families start with a single business itself and gradually move on to many, many different businesses, and each of the offspring can develop their own passion, but they leverage off the financial capital of the family, social capital of the family, and the human capital of the family itself. And, so it's still, all members of the family still can have common ownership, maybe through a trust and everything else, but it's still, let them do their own thing.
Different businesses.
Exactly.
Based on their strengths.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a wonderful, very useful concept that we can now apply to the millennials and the zillennials, as they say. So, pertaining to being a parent and a family business owner, I'd also like to ask, how do you mentor your children?
Well, mentoring is important, but it's the way I think people should mentor is actually by setting examples, because they actually can see what you're doing and so forth. You cannot tell them, mentor things that you're doing totally different. And so again, setting examples for them is very, very important. But also, we all have our network of friends, and some of our friends can actually sometimes act as mentor to them as well, which I believe is also very, very important, because they bring a different element into the equation, if you want to call it that.
Right. And still on the matter of family, in our clients here in the Philippines, dominantly there's a policy wherein in-laws are not allowed to have ownership or even employment in the business of the family. What's your take on that?
Well, my personal take is this. In-laws, again, I think it's important for the in-laws to develop their own skill sets, but they can leverage off family connection, social capital, and perhaps even you can invest in your in-laws, son-in-law, daughter-in-law's businesses.
Right.
So you can help them, and of course, because if they're in-laws, they're part of your family in a way, and you don't want disharmony created as a result of that. So why not help them through your social capital, financial capital, and of course, we call it human capital as well to assist them. So the reason why you may not invite them to your own business is because you don't want to complicate things, right? Sometimes you have too many people involved, and but on the other hand, they are spouses of your own descendants, and therefore it's all you want your descendants to have a good relationship with them, and therefore you assist the in-laws accordingly.
Yes. Professor Roger, you mentioned about success factors in your talk this morning. If there's one quick advice that you can, with the experience of being a family business member, and at the same time your experience with other family businesses, what would be a quick advice you can give to family business sustainability?
Well, I mentioned one of the factors is that ownership pruning. And the reason why I say that, when you have too many owners in the same business, there are just too many independent, views, and that complicates things. For example, for me, I tell my children, whatever we have, at the end of the day, we're divided amongst all three of you, value-wise, and that's it. And then you don't have to fight over everything itself. And so, of course, not all assets are dividable. And, but I take an example. We collect art, antiques, and so forth. I say, well, you take the value, whatever the appraised value is for insurance purposes, and each one will get a third. And if you happen to like that piece, you take it and reduce your share of the value. If two of you happen to like it, then you bid on it, just like an auction house, okay? And if nobody wants it, then sell it to convert it into cash and divide amongst them.
Thank you so much for that input, Professor Roger. And one last question.
Sure.
Why do you think because the creation of family constitution, creating mechanisms to help the family, creating policies before the need, this is becoming a trend now, and there are a lot of benefits. What's your take on that?
Well, people tend to think Asians did not have a so-called family constitution itself, but in reality, Asians do. It's just not written. It's understood. Okay, everything is very, very much understood. Of course, now we're living in an environment which everything is much more structured, legal, and everything else. So I think it's good to write down certain things, and so having a set of rules that is written down, people can refer to it. As we age, we tend to forget things, and so having something written down is also. But I think these constitutions, once it's written, it should be flexible. It shouldn't be so rigid, okay? And some of the things that should be interpretive as well.
Right. Well, it's very wonderful to hear from you coming from Hong Kong. Thank you very much.